Hey everybody, welcome to VBA Events. I have been spending some time on Reddit lately, and I've been seeing some different questions coming up with people wanting to know how to do different things when they select a cell or when they step away from a cell or whatever the case is. And a lot of this can be done with events. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of this, something kind of fun that you can do and something more business oriented. And I will of course show you the code and step through it as well. So let's get started. So to start things off, first of all, of course, you probably already know that you can record a macro and you can go ahead and see what the source code is. And you can come down here and see exactly what happened and then modify it however you need to. So coming up here, what I did is just simply a random color change. So with that, I'm just going to activate that. One thing I'll mention here, when you do something with SelectionChange, if you select too much, the program can lock up on you. So as an example, if I were to come over here, and I'm not going to, but if I were to come over to my spreadsheet and select an entire row, it is going to apply whatever rules I have over here to every single cell because I'm saying for each item in that target. All right, so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's start here. First of all, to go ahead and do an event on something, you want to have that object selected. So in this case, we are in the worksheet itself, and so I can select from up here sheet 1, sheet 2, or sheet 3, whatever I need to do. And all right, and so right now I am just in sheet 2, I believe. No, sheet 1. Okay. So I come up here, and when I select worksheet, if you go to a new worksheet, the first thing that's going to come up is SelectionChange. That is simply the most popular item that people use the worksheet object for and apply code to it. This part is going to be populated for you. The top private sub worksheet underscore SelectionChange by val target as range, that's what's being passed in. And so it's saying for each range in targets with rng.interior.color, and I'm going to just apply a random color. Random gives me a number between 0 and 1, and multiply that by the maximum value I can have. And then I'm just going to go on to the next item. If these for loops are unfamiliar to you at all, I do have another video on my channel for basics lessons, and it takes you through control structures and operators and everything you need to know about how to get started with VBA. So just to show you this in action, we're going to come back over here to the worksheet itself, and I am going to just select some cells here. Actually, let me start out by getting rid of this, but you did see that everything changed colors there. So I'm going to come up here, and I am just going to unmerge the cells, and I'm going to delete the text. All right, so I come up here and I change the color to no fill. And then I come up here, I start just playing with this. And you'll see that Excel is getting a little bit buggy on me. I'm kind of going overdrive on my video card right now because I got some processing happening at the same time of another video that I am updating. So anyway, that gives you the basic idea. Fairly simple. If I select a range of items at once, I'll just apply all of it there. Let's come back over to the code real quick. So let's start out by setting a breakpoint up here. And one thing I want to point out is if I come up here and try to simply play this, it's going to ask me which macro I want to run. And the reason for that is I'm trying to pass a value in on this sub, so the program knows that I can't run that, so it's trying to figure out what I do want to run. In this case, though, I do want to run that, so I'm just going to set the breakpoint, come back over here, select a cell, and come back over to my code, and we see that, all right, it went ahead and grabs that. So now it's going to say for each range in target, and for whatever I have selected, it's going to iterate through that. You can actually see this behavior on that other tutorial as well that I had done previously with the VBA basics, and it goes into further detail on this. So if I step through this and I go into each one, you probably noticed when I hovered my mouse over a range, it said it was empty. Now when I hovered over it, it actually is still empty. Let's take a closer look at this. And even though it is empty, it still did stuff. So that's kind of interesting. It did not need to go ahead and do anything. Let's find out what happens if I do select a few ranges and come in here. And I've just selected a 2x3 grid. And still empty. Now, even though it says it's empty on top, if you look at the bottom, it will go ahead and show that there is something in there. It's just not able to display it on top, so it just says it's empty even though it's actually not. So something to also be aware of with Excel. Now I told you I would also show you something a little bit more useful. So I created a second program here, and the purpose of it is to go ahead and insert cells. So what it does is it checks that I am on either the top row or the first column, and otherwise it does not execute. So nothing is happening right now. However, if I come up here and I click on the first row, it inserts a column for me. And if I don't type anything in that and I just select something else, it'll collapse it back down. And so now if I do that again and I put something in there and then I move away from it, it goes ahead and leaves it there. If I want to insert again, it'll go ahead and just pop that open, and it will allow me to insert it. Now, the other thing this does is if I select more than one row, so if I do this, for instance, it will ignore it and it won't do anything. So then I can go ahead and just do that and leave it at that. All right. So this has not been completely debugged. As you can see, there's still a few issues going on with it. But let's go ahead and show you how this works. If we come in here and also do the assignments, same concept there. So let's just come over to the code here real quick and we'll step through that. So what we're doing is we are coming in here and we are creating a Boolean variable. We are simply calling that cont, C-O-N-T. And we are saying if target.row is equal to open row or target.column is equal to open column, then, and by the way, I have these open col and open rows up here that I declared. So that's what that's about. And it is there to remember what is open and what is not, which, by the way, is the reason that I had the bug over there, because things had reset to 0 when I inserted that value. So coming down here, if we do see that, we go continue equals false. We do not want to actually insert a column, else cont equals true, and we'll end that if statement. Now, if open col is greater than 0, then we want to come in there and we want to check the length of it, and we're saying if there's something in there, then we want to go ahead and collapse things. So we're going to say delete and shift everything to the left, and we're going to say, okay, now open col is equal to 0. Otherwise, we are going to say, and notice that if it's greater than 0 and there is something in there, it'll still set it equal to 0 regardless. So it basically says, okay, I handled it. I don't have to do anything else like that. I could write a script in there to go further and actually iterate through all of the columns and iterate through all of the rows, check if there's something open, and then collapse it. Just for the purpose of showing this video, I have opted not to do that. So now we do the exact same thing with open row. If the length is 0, if there's nothing in it, then collapse it, delete that row, and shift everything up. And again, open row, and that's a typo there, is then 0. All right. So continuing on, literally. So if cont is true, if I want to do stuff, then I want to check if the target count is 1, and count is just the property of the range property. If it is 1, then I want to come down here and I want to say if the row is equal to 1, if I'm in the first row, and the column is greater than 1, and the length is greater than 1, in other words, if I'm clicking on something that has something in it, then go ahead and say open col is equal to target column. So I'm setting that on top in order to take care of that later if I need to. And so then I'm saying columns target.column.insert.shift XL to right. So just as I deleted up top, I'm inserting down here. So same thing, if column is equal to 1, target.row is greater than 1, and the length of the row that I'm in, or the cell that I'm in, is greater than 1, then open row is equal to target.row, and rows target row, whatever that number is, dot insert, shift XL down, and if, and that's the program. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to take a look at this. Stay tuned. Go ahead and subscribe. There will be more videos coming in VBA, in Python, in different languages. So I'm going to be switching things up as we go along here. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what languages you would like to see more about. I am constantly learning new ones. So if it's not something I'm familiar with, I will get familiar with it, and time permitting, of course, and then go ahead and post a video about it. And if you have questions about anything I've already posted and wondering how to do something or why I did something a certain way, please let me know that as well. Thank you very much for your time, and keep learning.